You're muted.
I was in a different program, so Command Shift A didn't work. Okay, that should be able to be heard now. I'd like to welcome everybody to this is the Income Tax Day edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group meeting for April. And if you have not completed your income tax yet, please turn off your computer, go to the post office and mail it off now. So I'd like to welcome all of our sustaining members, first-time guests, dual platform users and switchers. I usually at this point say, is there anybody here who's here for the first time? And I think I recognize everybody. So we'll just stop that part of it. Next month, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, May 16th at this same virtual location. And we will have an Ask Me Anything session hosted by Kevin. And Roger will be demonstrating the secrets of how to make special event photos even more special and less boring. If there are new product announcements from Apple between now and then, Tony will be here to give us the 411. We are now entering our third year of Zoom meetings. Both Zoom and in-person meetings do have their advantages. We still have highly paid positions open here at TMUG. We need a volunteer to send out membership renewal emails. This is something that might take as much as 20 minutes a month after you've done it for a month or two. So if you can spare 20 minutes a month for TMUG, please get a hold of myself or Kurt, and we will let you know how that's going to go. We also need a volunteer to check the links on the tmug.com website. Speaking of the website, we're in the middle of redoing the website. So right now it is not up to date, and hopefully in the next couple of days, it will be new and improved. And then we need somebody to not only check the links on the links page, but probably every other link you can find, which is going to be a lot of test emails probably. And I want you to look in the chat window for the feedback form for April. And Bob Doms has put it in there. And it has a link there. And if you just click on that link, it'll open up in your browser of choice. And just leave it there. And at the end of the evening, take 2, maybe 3 minutes to fill it out. And let us know what you think. It is important to us to have that feedback so we can plan better for the upcoming meetings. Speaking of upcoming meetings, we will be foregoing our July of 2023 meeting due to MacStock. If there's anybody here who is interested in going to MacStock, we have a special coupon code from MacStock that's going to give us like 15 or 20% off the regular admission. It would be nice to have additional TMUG representation there this year. Is there anybody here? Let's see. I've gone, Kurt's gone, and Roger's gone. Anybody here outside of that who is interested in going? Oh, Melissa has been there as well, but she hasn't been there in a long time.
Nope, been a long time.
Hope to see you there again, Melissa.
Working on it.
Good, good. Our new virtual raffle during our Zoom meetings. Last month's winner was David Acklam. Congratulations, David, who's not here tonight as yet. And remember that the monthly prize has been up to $30. So pretty much if you win the monthly prize, it's going to take care of your annual dues. And the super raffle, please remember that you're going to be entered for that if you are a T-Mug member. Are there any announcements that I've forgotten? Okay. Are there any for sales or wanted to buy items from the floor? Ridge has something. Go ahead, Ridge.
I still have an M1 Mac Mini with a 1 terabyte solid state drive in it and Apple Care up through November. That's access to my needs, and I will not refuse any reasonable or unreasonable offer.
So if you are looking for the possibility of updating, that would be a really, really good thing to do. So
$50 is unreasonable, but it's an offer.
I like mine.
I don't
I
have
could
a
go-
need for one, but
I could go 100 and I don't need one either. Okay. So our program tonight is going to be along our regular lines. Next up is going to be Ridge with his tech update and security update. And Ridge was unable to present last month because we told him he couldn't because we had a guest presenter. So Ridge is going to be a little bit longer this month. So take it away, Ridge.
Okay, and share screen. This month is going to take, this presentation will be 2 months, as you can see, March and April. So let's start with first with the all of the software updates. And here, when you see the word through, that means there were several additional updates in between the two items there. So 1Password is now up to 8.10.4. And Carbon Copy Cloner is updated. Firefox has had several, and Chrome has had several. And if you use Graphic Converter, that got updated, as well as Little Snitch. And Office for the Mac had 3, and they had they were important updates. And Mozilla updated the email program Thunderbird. Quicken, if you're using it, it's been updated. Spam Sieve is also updated, and TechTool Pro, now version 17, works through Ventura, from High Sierra through Ventura. And Zoom, from February to now, had 3 separate updates. So we're running on 5.14.2 now. And Apple's HomePod software got 2 updates. And their Big Sur got updates, so as well as Monterey and Ventura. And the iOS and iPad OS software got updated as well, and Safari and the TV OS. And if you have a studio display, it got a firmware update. And the Watch OS was updated along with GarageBand and TV OS, and Watch OS had a separate update from 9.3.1 to 9.4. And Safari if you're running Monterey and Big Sur, you should update it because it's now 16.4.1. And all of the iWork apps for the Mac has got updated and they're now version 13. And the iWork apps for iOS and iPad OS is up to version 13 also. And if you can't remember what the iWork apps are, they are Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. Now coming in beta from Apple, Ventura a 13.4 and an iPad and iPad and an iOS update for 16.5 and 16.5 for the TV OS, and Watch OS is another update is coming, and Xcode as well. Now, next worldwide developer conference is called WWDC 23, and it's going to be June 5th through 9th, and it's going to be mostly conducted online again. There will be a keynote, which I'm going to watch using my Apple TV on my 55-inch screen. Now, as far as Apple maintenance goes, back in March 2nd, there was a report that Apple is increasing the cost of replacing iPhone batteries if your device is out of warranty. They increased the cost from $69 to $99 when they released the iPhone 14 back in September, and it was keeping the $99 pricing, but for the iPhone 14, while increasing it for all previous generations. So effective last month, the out-of-service battery service fee will be increased $20 for all phone models prior to iPhone 14. And the oldest model that Apple supports for battery replacement is the iPhone 5. And if you have a handset with a home button, those costs to do it will be up to $69, up from $49. A student lost their iPhone while saving a drowning woman in Brazil, and then it was discovered 7 meters deep a week later, still functioning. It took place in a lake in Brasilia. It was an iPhone 11, and it spent a week underwater and it still worked. Breno jumped into the lake while on a kayak ride to save a woman who was drowning. He got to the shore, but he lost his iPhone in the process. And a week later, there was a social media post from a diving instructor who had found the iPhone, so he got it back working. Now, Apple has added yellow to the colors available for the iPhones. And here's the current color lineup of iPhones. Microsoft has recently decided to make his Outlook email app free for Mac users. And it's now available in the App Store. And it's a 974 megabyte download that requires Mac OS 11, Big Sur, or newer. How about rumors? How about a 15-inch or bigger MacBook Air coming? And how about a 24-inch iMac with an M3 CPU later this year? And how about this year seeing the release of a Mac Pro with M2 or M3 Apple silicone chips in it? And the latest online guesses as to what's going to be released at Worldwide Developer Conference 23, they're thinking that a mixed reality headset is going to be a big one, and several new MacBooks of some kind of variety. And so supposedly due later this year, a Mac Pro and iMac refreshed. But of course, with all of these rumors, we're going to have to sit on it and wait and see what happens, because Apple never really lets you know until they actually release it. And we still have, if you really want one, a cloth logo or a Mac pin or Timo user group pin. And thanks for paying attention to this part of my presentation. Now, the security interest is going to be a little bit bigger this time because there's a lot of more cybercrime news to share with you all. Adobe had security fixes in Acrobat, Reader, InCopy, and Dimension. And Google, of course, had some big updates with security fixes in Chrome for the Mac. They had a total from 110, 177 to 112, 121. There were 87 security fixes with that version. And iOS, the Chrome for iOS got updates as well. And Mozilla updated Firefox and Thunderbird. And Microsoft had 4 fixes in their Office updates. And Apple, of course, had fixes in security fixes in their software that they released, Big Sur, Monterey, and Ventura. So if you're running any of those, you had security fixes in those updates that you might want to be sure you get. And Safari for Big Sur and Monterey, the updates included 3 security fixes. And all of the rest you can see, GarageBand, WatchOS, TV, and so forth, all had updates. And these are the additional Apple items that had security fixes. Now, according for the cybercrime news, we'll start with what Malwarebytes says about what we're most likely to experience as far as bad malware. Adware is what we're supposedly going to see more of, which is deceptive, sophisticated, and hard to remove. And much of the problem is due to adware called OSX Genio that hijacks a user's browser and uses the browser, to inject its own ads into search results that you ask, say, Google for, behaving more like malware that exploits a system vulnerability to grant itself elevated permissions. So it's a really good idea to avoid clicking on ads that appear on web pages. How about Jam Threat Labs? They are malware researchers. They found a new malware threat on Mac operating system that installs and runs crypto mining software. That malware is attached to pirated copies of Final Cut Pro that you get from unauthorized distribution points on the internet. So you probably want to stay away from pirated copies of Final Cut Pro. They have a tool called XMRig attached to it. And when the software is downloaded and installed, XMRig launches in the background. That's an application that is often used legitimately when you are really mining crypto coins, but it's an open source utility. It's often subject to illegitimate users like this one. And it's installed using an I2P tool to send mined cryptocurrency to the attacker's wallet and download malicious software components to your Mac. The I2P networking protocol is designed for privacy and uses a tunnel only used by the user of the server and any others granted access. Like XMRig, I2P has legitimate uses, but when it's used by malware, it increases the difficulty of tracking network activity. And the malware is clever enough to avoid detection by macOS's Activity Monitor app. And if Activity Monitor is launched, XMRig stops running and relaunches when you quit Activity Monitor. With macOS Ventura, however, the pirated copy of Final Cut Pro won't pass validation and won't launch, but the illegitimate installation of XMRig still occurs and the background mining proceeds. So I would say definitely stay away from any kind of downloaded Final Cut Pro that comes from a kind of a off-the-wall source online. And recently, the Wall Street Journal ran an article about a new trend where a thief gets friendly with somebody at a bar and watches the person long enough as the victim types in their iPhone passcode. And after memorizing the code that they watch you put in, he steals the iPhone and then quickly changes the ID password, and then steals personal data or money from financial accounts. It's not a news story, but a reminder, be careful how you use the iPhone in any public environments you may find yourself in. How about Mac Stealer malware, which goes after iCloud password and credit card data? And there's a security team at Upticks, and they published a report detailing the arrival of new malware that goes after sensitive data that's stored on your Mac. It can attack Macs running Mac OS Catalina or later, when you have either an Intel or an Apple CPU chip installed. And it can get all this information from Firefox, Chrome, and Microsoft Brave browsers and get their several different file types and extract the keychain database. And Upticks went to the dark web and took a look and found that Mac Stealer's makers are working on the ability to harvest Safari passwords and cookies, as well as data in the Notes app. Their bad actor uses a DMG file to spread the malware. And after you execute that file, it opens a fake password prompt to gather passwords using a command line. And anyway, Mac Stealer appears to propagate through a weed.dmg executable file. And when that weed app launches, a pop-up appears stating that Mac OS wants to access the system preferences. That's the command line. And a box below that is for the user to enter the account password. And after that, Mac Stealer goes to work gathering the data, compressing it, and sending it to the Mac Stealer maker, and then deleting the stolen data to hide its track. And then the maker hands the data off to whoever contracted for Mac Stealer. But it's unknown how the weed.dmg item is distributed by the bad actor, but the file only needs to be launched for a Mac to be affected. Apple releases security patches through operating system updates, so it's a good idea to keep your Mac up to date. And when you need to download software, get it from a trusted source. Lockbit ransomware group has seemingly started to target the Mac, following this discovery online of the first malware bug intended to infect Macs. Lockbit is a ransomware gang that has existed for a number of years. They have attacked the United Kingdom's Royal Mail and a Canadian hospital. And people think that they're based in Russia. And they normally were attacking Windows, but now it's going after Mac OS users. And the team that found it is called Malware Hunter Team. And they found in a Lockbit ransomware sample build, appeared to be intended for Apple Silicon-powered Macs. And it's believed to be the first Lockbit ransomware sample in the wild aimed at modern Macs. And it's thought also to be the first time a major ransomware group took interest in creating a payload that attacks Apple hardware. It's not necessarily a massive cause for alarm, especially on its first appearance. But the operation of Lockbit as a group makes it a more serious situation. The group also provides access to its ransomware to other criminals willing to pay. So with the prospect of others potentially using it, it stands to reason there could be a lot of ransomware attacks against Macs in the future. However, Apple has built-in anti-malware activity, which you may not be totally aware of. XProtect is a scanning tool. It works invisibly and automatically in the background. Doesn't require you to do anything. It checks against a list of malicious apps when you open downloaded apps and regularly updated by Apple. And if you download and try to open files contaminated, you may see an explicit warning that the files will, quote, damage your computer. In that case, you should delete the file immediately. And then the Apple has what's called Gatekeeper, which blocks downloaded software that has not been digitally signed by an Apple approved developer. It provides an error message when you try to use or install unsigned software saying so-and-so such can't be opened because it's from an unidentified developer. Gatekeeper can protect you by only installing software downloaded from the Mac App Store, or you can set it to allow you to install software from the web, but from verified developers. Recently, Apple has set it to check for malware every time it runs, rather than just the first time you install. So you can adjust the Gatekeeper settings via the Security and Privacy General Tab section of System Preferences. So thanks for your attention to the security items for these 2 months. And of course, the moral is to stay safe. And I will now stop sharing.
Thank you, Ridge.
Thanks, Ridge.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.
Can I say something about XProtect real quick?
Uh-huh.
What I've noticed in Ventura after every software update from Apple, XProtect gets turned off and you actually have to turn it back on.
How do you do that?
Go into your system settings to privacy and security, to full disk access, and it's on the very bottom.
So that's one of the things that you should always check whenever you update Mac OS. The security settings.
Okay. Thanks again, Ridge. Did a yeoman-like job. Our next presenter is Chris, who's going to give us his April accessibility minute. Chris, are you ready to take over?
I am. I'm just putting in my password here to turn XProtect back on again. Boy, that's sort of a bummer. Okay. Well, it gives a whole new flavor to unidentified developers that used to be annoying. Now we realize there's a good reason for it. So, good evening out there in accessibility land. Does anybody have any questions about setting up assistive touch? We talked about this in the past 2 meetings. I'm just curious if anybody ran into problems with it or want to go over it again. If you're using it, is it? Question?
I can't get it to work, but that's okay.
Okay, well, Tommy, you can always email me offline if you don't want to take a look at it now. But,
I'll have to get a new computer and so.
oh, okay. Okay, so, okay, well, moving on.
Thank
In
you.
absence of any specific requests, I thought we'd start off with the hearing section of the accessibility panels in iPhone. And the reason of this is I'm auditioning some new hearing aids and some interesting things that I had really forgotten about because I hadn't looked at it recently. But at least my hearing aids from Oticon, which is a company in Copenhagen, they have sort of a subset of Bluetooth, and Kevin may know more about this than I do, but that it is not a normal Bluetooth device, so it doesn't show up in Bluetooth, and it will only connect to either an iPhone or an iPad, but not both, which I find a little bit surprising in 2023, but who knows? But all of that happens, I mean, as anybody with hearing aids will know, is through hearing devices. And so just for future reference, in case you end up getting hearing aids, probably whoever is setting them up for you will know this and will ask for your phone and fly through it because they do it 5 times a day. But it is the unlikely place of MFI hearing devices. And that's where you pair the actual hearing aids. And there are various settings under there, which we could go into if anybody is really interested, but I assume if you've got hearing aids, they're probably already set up. And so we don't need to really go over that. But some of the other things in hearing, the other really big one is RTT and TTY. And that's for folks who have very little hearing and are using those TTY devices that deaf people primarily use. So I don't think we've got anybody in that category, right? I think I would have heard about it by now, but at any rate, that's obviously a specialty that, you know, people like Melissa and Kevin may work on and that sort of thing. Or again, as always, if you've got a question about accessibility in any of these sections, you know, and you call into Apple support, tell them right off the bat, I need help with accessibility, or I need help with hearing and accessibility, and I'm sure it's a subset of support. And if they sort of hem and haw about it, just ask for it to be escalated, because I'm sure there's a subset of people that work with that stuff. One of the next big one I wanted to go over is sound recognition. And for people with low hearing, this is the second item under hearing and accessibility. I don't know, can I share my iPad screen quickly through? Does it come up as an option? I think I saw that somewhere.
If
I don't
it
know if
doesn't,
that
you might have to use QuickTime.
Yeah, I don't know if there's time for that tonight though, Melissa, but thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, at any rate, it's the second item in accessibility hearing. It's called sound recognition, and it's got a whole list of sounds in there, like doorbells, fire alarms, sirens, smoke, etc. Appliances, doorbell, that's the one I turned on, and door knock is one I thought I had turned on. And so that iPhone has the ability to listen for these special sounds. It's been programmed. And so if you consistently don't hear someone knocking on your front door because it's down the hall and through the living room, that might be something that would be a benefit. And just kind of coincidentally, there's a birding app that I use called Merlin, that's from the Cornell Ornithology Labs. And it's an app, if you're into birds at all, you probably know about the Cornell Labs already. And then Merlin's a fabulous app, but there's a sound ID where it can hear birds that I can't, you know, even with my hearing aids up all the way. So iPhone has the capability of hearing stuff at very, very low volume, probably even beneath the threshold of human hearing. So when you might want to take a look through this list, because it's things like running water, kettle, glass breaking, door knock. And I mean the obvious things like baby crying, coughing, shouting, and that's pretty obvious. But you know, something like running water, that could be a good thing to know, that it would hear that and alert you. So that's something to look at in the accessibility area for sound. And then the other one, it does have subtitles and captioning. And we talked about that a little. Roger talked about that a little bit today. And so you can take a look at that. It's something I use on the Mac quite a bit, especially if I'm listening to folks from England, or more particularly Scotland or Ireland, in English or other languages. Unfortunately, the closed captioning that's built into the operating systems right now on an English system is English only, because I tested that out this afternoon. If you put on a Spanish language program, which most likely, if it's something like from PBS, it'll have its own closed captioning, so that'll be fine. But the OS version was trying to guess at the Spanish words and making up English words, which of course didn't make any sense at all. And let's see, audio visual, maybe that'll be our last thing. They have headphone accommodations. That's where you can put in your audiogram for your iPhone, which is a somewhat simplified audiogram. It's about half the frequencies that you get in a hearing test, but it still is a huge improvement. So even if you don't wear hearing aids and you've had your hearing tested and they gave you the audiogram. It's like 2 graphs, one for each ear. You can put that into this place on the iPhone, and it will really make a difference. At least it did for me. And I think I don't want to drone on too long here. Bob gave us 10 minutes this month, but let's just see if are there any other questions around sound?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have a question.
okay.
The water running thing. I don't know how this thing works or how accurate it is, but I spend a lot of time out hiking outside in mountains. If I had that thing on, would it be able to detect a stream if I need to get a drink of water or something somewhere, or if I was out hunting? Or does it key in on like a spigot running or dripping?
Yeah, I think it's the latter, Mark. I think it's, like if I accidentally leave the tap on in the bathroom and wander away, that sort of thing. Although I haven't tested it. So I just found that late this afternoon. So it might be another thing that some people, you either really like this or you don't at all, and it's background sounds. People who have tinnitus or tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. Yeah, Melissa knows all about it. You could probably explain this way better than I can. But the real short answer is it provides a noise to occupy your brain so that you don't get the ear ringing. And it's sort of a substitution thing. Is that accurate, Melissa? Kind of.
Yeah, I think you explained it pretty well.
But you can pick rain, you can pick other things. And you might be standing in line somewhere and just be like bored out of your skull. And it might be nice to turn on, an ocean sound or a rain sound or a stream sound, and if that's something you like, it's right there. It'll help enormously if you've got earbuds on or you've got hearing devices like hearing aids that the sound is streaming to as opposed to screaming. Hopefully it's not screaming to it, but
It could be if you're around kids.
yeah, that's true. I bet you
I
don't
use it
need.
at the Apple store actually because it's really overwhelming. So much chatter. So I turn on the ocean swishing.
That's an interesting idea. That's an interesting.
I get
those of us-
overwhelmed when there's lots of overload and over sensory stimulation.
Right.
I mean, it definitely helps with the tinnitus too, but it's really helpful for in places when there's just an overload. Like my kids like to go to these places where they're like kid casinos and there's just so much stuff going on. So I put those in, I put the ocean noises on. I don't like the trickling water because then I'll just have to go to the bathroom all the time. So I like the ocean swoosh.
Oh, it's like Chuck E. Cheese. When my kids were little, we did a
Yes.
one birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, and I said, never again.
It's a rite of passage.
For me too. Ouch.
Mhm.
But at any rate, Melissa brings up a really good point. I mean, if there's something in the accessibility area that you think you could benefit from, call Apple and talk to them, because there's just an amazing amount of stuff that has been built into the Mac, iPads, iPhones, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it might really make a difference for you. Next month, we'll probably talk about the visual stuff. I don't know if anybody has visual challenges at that level, but that can be an absolute game changer for people who have very limited eyesight. So, at any rate, any other questions? Okay, I think we'll turn it back to you, Bob.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your help. So next we have Roger, who is going to talk about the Zoom in lifestyle that we're all experiencing now. And I'm sure that Roger's ready, so I'm just going to say, go ahead, Roger.
Okay, thank you, Bob. So hopefully you can see my screen. So we're going to talk about better video calls, looking and sounding better on Zoom. So we're going to cover some major topics here. Plan ahead, how to improve your audio, what is the best camera angle, how to do lighting so it works well for you, and how to choose your background. So let's start with audio. So it's good to have an external microphone. If you're using the built-in microphone on your Mac or your iPhone or your iPad, sometimes depending on how new it is, those microphones don't work that great. Now, I'm using a Pile PMHM2, so it's a microphone that just hangs on your ear and brings the capsule right next to your mouth. So it gives you really good audio quality. And those are available on Amazon for $21. And they look like this. So actually, I have the single ear hook model, but I recommend you get the double ear hook model, and it just goes around the back of your head, hooks under your ears, puts that microphone right where it can do the best job, right next to your mouth. So that's one way to improve your audio. So another way is to wear earphones when you're on a Zoom call. Now, Zoom does have technology built in to cancel out feedback, but it doesn't always work. So the setup that I use is called the MEE Audio M6 Sport Wired earbuds. Right now, they're $12 on Amazon. So they hook behind your ear and fit right inside your ear. I don't know that until I turn my head, you probably can't even see that I'm wearing them. So they're very hard to see. So this shows you up here in the upper right-hand corner how they fit into your ear. And then the cable goes behind your back, and they come with a selection of ear tips here, so you can fit your size ear. I have one ear that's a different size than the other ear, so I have different tips in each ear. You may have to do that too. So another part of the audio is, how do you get your earphones and your mic working at the same time, since you only have one audio jack on your Mac? Well, you need an audio adapter. And the one that I use is an Audio-Technica ATR2X USB. There's a lot of them out there. Make sure and read the reviews. And they all look something like this. You have a headphone output on the left, a microphone input on the right. On the side here is a volume control, and you have a mute switch, which you have a green LED when it's on and a red LED when it's muted. So that's how you can get your microphone and your earphones working at the same time. And this connects to a USB. So you plug it into a USB port on your Mac. So another thing you can do is use a lavalier microphone. And I have here one on my lapel. So that gets the microphone closer to your mouth, which is the whole idea. When you're using a microphone that's a distance away, you get a lot of room noise because the sound is bouncing off the hard surfaces in your room. So this eliminates that roominess sound. The one that I've used is called the Pop Voice PV510 Plus. It's all of $12. And it looks like this. Comes with a windscreen, 2 extra windscreens, and a nice sturdy metal clip. So it's an old saying in the industry that your video is only as good as your audio. People will put up with crummy video, but if they can't hear you, they can't understand you, they'll stop watching whatever you're doing on video. So you need to have good audio to go along with your good video. And of course, it's a courteous thing to do to mute your mic when you're not talking, so that any background noise where you are is not affecting the video conference. So let's do a little comparison here between these different kinds of audio. So now I'm on the Pile ear set, which I have been on all day. And so now we're going to unplug that. So now I am using the lavalier microphone. So you can hopefully tell a little bit of difference there. And then next, we're going to use the microphone built into my Logitech webcam. So I have to go up to my Zoom preferences to switch that. Just a second. Okay, so now I'm talking to the microphones built into my Logitech webcam, and you can probably tell there's some room noise. I can hear a jet going over. I don't know if you can pick that up. But you can tell, you have
Hearing the
that.
same jet
Oh, okay.
at my house.
So you can tell, hopefully you can tell a difference when we're on the webcam microphones. So not as good, but probably better than the built-in microphone on older Macs. So let me switch back here to our file. Okay, and now we're back to the ear set microphone, which is what I normally use. And now I'll tell you that this is not very expensive. I looked up on Amazon. I bought this in August of 2020, and I use it, all the time on any Zoom meeting or any YouTube video that I do. And so it has held up very well. And let me get back to Zoom here. Okay, you're seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was our audio comparison test. So let's talk about camera angle. So to be the most engaging that you can be, it's good to have your camera at your eye level so that you don't have that up the nostril shot, which doesn't look good on anybody. So you want to raise up your camera on whatever device you're using so it's at eye level. So if you're using an iMac, you're pretty well set. That's at a good angle. If you're using a MacBook, then you want to bring that MacBook up so it's resting on something that brings it up so that the camera is, again, at eye level. And if you're using an iPad or an iPhone, then a tripod is a good way to bring that camera on those devices up to eye level. And another pro tip is look at the camera, don't look at yourself. So that's not very engaging when you're looking off to one side, watching yourself. It's hard to watch the camera, but it's a very engaging way to be in a conference, and it's basically shows that you're paying attention. So we've talked about the built-in camera not being the greatest. Now, if you have a newer MacBook, like in the last 2 years, they've done a lot of improvements on the camera, so that might be fine. Then a webcam is a good way to increase your quality. And then on the iPhone, they have a new thing with Ventura and iOS 16 called continuity camera. So it allows you to use your iPhone as your webcam. And that works. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then if you have an old DSLR laying around that's not doing anything anymore because you use your iPhone for most of your photography, some of those that have HDMI clean outputs, which means there's no little information around the screen. It just has a good picture without any of those little gauges and things that tell you what the camera's doing. Then you could use that. So there are programs called camera settings that allow you to tweak your webcam. If you check in the App Store, look at the reviews. The one that several of you use is called Camera Settings with an S. It costs, I think, $7.95. But they all kind of do the same thing. This is the one that you can get from Logitech. So when you click on the advanced word here, You can adjust your brightness, your contrast, your autofocus, color intensity, your white balance, or restore your default. Some of the other ones probably have some other features. And over here on the right, if you click on the plus sign, it will zoom in. And then you can also adjust the picture by using these arrows here in the center. So pretty much most of the camera setting apps work in a similar way. Some have more features than others. So that's another way to increase your video quality. So you can get a webcam that has a built-in light. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. And so here's a variety of popular webcams that are currently on the market. On the high end, we have the Insta360, which actually will track you, follow you around as you move. If you're doing something where you're teaching something like an exercise class and you're moving around, that would be good. This is the low-cost leader from Microsoft, $26. Then we have Anchor and Logitech, $99 and $90. This is one of the favorite cameras, the C22X. And then a little higher quality 4K camera from Logitech is the Brio, which I was amazed actually at the price here. It's come down quite a bit. It used to be $299 and now it's $128 last time I checked. And then Logitech has another camera called the Stream camera. So that gives you an idea what's available in webcams. And Bob has a camera, and I do too, called the Center Cam. And there's another company doing something similar to this that clips on the top of your monitor, puts the actual camera lens right in the center of the monitor. So when you're looking in the center, you're right on the money. You're looking right in the camera. So that's a great way to go if you're buying a new webcam. So here's a little bit more about Continuity Camera. It does require iOS 16 and Mac OS Ventura, and you need to have an iPhone 11 or a newer iPhone. And you can get camera mounts that will mount the iPhone on the top of your monitor, which is where it needs to be. You could probably use a tripod, but setting up a tripod and finding a place on the desk for it to fit can be challenging. I tried it and it didn't work on my desk. So the way it works here is you get actually two cameras in one. So you get the desk view, which is electronically focusing the camera on what's on your desk in front of your monitor. And then you get the normal face view. So it makes doing presentations where you're trying to demonstrate something a lot easier without having to buy an extra overhead camera. So there are other apps that you can use your iPhone as a webcam: Camo, Epoch Cam, and Shoot. So those some have a free version. Epoch Cam, I think, has a subscription. Shoot, I just got an update today on Shoot. So some of them require a app on your Mac as well. So you can use your iPhone as a webcam without having the latest software. And then again, to keep your iPad and your iPhone at eye level, you can get lots of different tripods. This tripod works both for the iPad and the iPhone. So this would be the table height, and then this could be probably almost a standing height. And again, you want to read the 1-star reviews and make sure it's made out of metal and not plastic, so it will last longer. So a stand for your MacBook could look something like this. Again, we're getting the camera up to eye level, or you could just use a couple of Amazon boxes or a stack of books. But getting that camera up to eye level is going to make your appearance much better. So let's talk about lighting. So lighting is important. If you have a lamp with a shade, the shade would act as a diffuser, so you're not getting a glare from a bare light bulb and put that in front of you off to one side so it's not interfering with your camera. And if you wear glasses, you want to get a light that's up at about a 45-degree angle so that you're not getting the reflection of the light on your lenses. And there's various inexpensive LED lights that you can get. Here's one. This one is battery operated and rechargeable. So it has different intensities. So that's the low intensity, higher intensity, the next to highest intensity, and the brightest. So you can see that's really doing a great job of illuminating my face. So you can clip that.
Roger, we don't see you. We see the copy, but not your picture.
Well, I'm in Zoom on the side. You should see me.
All right.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's try that again. Let me see if I can spotlight me here. Okay, here we go. How's that? So here's the light. And it gets more intense, more intense, more intense, most intense, and it's off again. So let me cancel the spotlight here. And there we go. Okay, thanks, Jerry. So there's lots of LED lights. Bob actually came up with this one. I guess I shouldn't have turned that off so quickly. So let's turn this back on again. And this little guy here is got lots of interesting little features. It well, we've got a picture of it here. So these are three for $10 on Amazon. So you can't go wrong with the price. So it's got a magnet on the back. It's got a carabiner, so you can clip it to your backpack or your purse or your belt loop. Then it's got the ever popular bottle opener right there. And it's got a little kickstand. So there's the kickstand. And it has several intensities. It's also rechargeable. So let's put it out here. So you can see it's very bright. That's the low setting. And well, I guess that was the high setting. And then if you want to really get people's attention, you can do the strobe. So
It's also got a tripod mount on the bottom.
yes, good point. So on the bottom is a standard tripod mount. So you could put that on a little tripod. So just a couple of really inexpensive ways to improve your lighting. So professional television crews do what they call 3-point lighting. And that basically looks like this. So here's your camera in the center. You have a key light, which is up at a 45-degree angle, and that's at 100% intensity. You have a fill light on the other side, which is at about 50%. And then you have a backlight, which is at about 20%. Now, right now you can see my head is glowing here because I have a overhead light on my fan that I've tried to block down the light by putting a white piece of, well, a white plastic bag over it. It's still a little too much. But the whole idea of that is to separate me from my background. So it gives you a little more of a two-dimensional look instead of a one-dimensional look where you're one with the background. So that's the whole idea of lighting. You don't have to do anything fancy, but if you keep this kind of in mind as you use the lighting that you might have around your house, then that will help you look good on a Zoom call. So if you have a table lamp, something like this with a shade, and again, if you're wearing glasses, you want to get that lamp up higher. So a floor lamp would do the job there and keep the reflection. Now you can actually see some reflection here on his glasses, but that is from the screen. So unfortunately, it's hard to control the reflection on the screen. You can operate in dark mode. You can turn your screen intensity down a little bit to avoid that reflection in your glasses. So backgrounds are important. You want to avoid having windows behind you. And if you can't avoid that, then you need to close them. Close the window coverings, the blinds, or the drapes so that in the daytime when you're on a call, they're not overpowering the exposure where you can't see you because of all the light behind you. So you want to have a background that's not distracting, not something that people are going to be watching instead of you. And of course, on Zoom, you can blur your background. So that helps with the distraction. And then you can, of course, use the green screen on Zoom to put in a photograph so that you have a nice background. So as far as planning ahead, you always want to test your microphone and your camera before you go into a Zoom meeting. And you also want to test your internet speed by going to a speed test site like speedtest.net. And actually, I had a little scare this afternoon about 5:30. I was trying to do something on the internet, and the internet wasn't there. So I was able to power cycle my modem and get it back. So make sure you've got speed. You want an upload speed of at least 3 megabytes per second. 5 would be better, 10 would be ideal. So you need that upload speed for a video conference. You might want to get a checklist to kind of have something to go through all these little things. And there's lots of checklists on the web. If you just search for a Zoom checklist, I'm sure you'll find several. So another thing you need to plan ahead about is the environment from which you are broadcasting. So you need to advise people in your house that you're going to be going live, and you would appreciate it if they would keep it down. And also not be downloading large files, maybe not even streaming movies, playing interactive games, the things that would steal your bandwidth. And also on your computer, it's a good idea to quit non-essential apps that you don't need so your computer can be as efficient as it can. And turn on the do not disturb so that you don't have pop-ups on your devices while you're on your Zoom call. So, do you have any questions? And just a reminder that this video of our entire meeting will be on our TMUG YouTube channel in the next 24 hours. And you can find the link for that in TMUG Talk on Groups.io.
Roger, will you have show notes for this? I loved when I can get written notes.
I could do the products, but I don't know. I don't have an outline actually.
Yeah, the products are important.
Yeah, I'll give you a list of products in the show notes.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Roger, there used to be a problem with lavalier mics that if people brushed against them, you know, because it was like on your lapel, it was really easy to some people have a lot of trouble because they just have their hands around their face or around that, and it can get all sorts of extraneous noise. Yeah, I mean, you know, over the years at work, I can remember about once every 8 to 12 months, we'd get somebody like that. We'd have to set up a regular mic. They just couldn't do a lavalier. So it might be something to think about. I don't know if that would apply to anybody here, but there is the upside is it's very convenient in a conference room or for a presentation. Although the quality used to be pretty bad, it sounds like they've improved that. But just something to think about.
Yeah, you have to accommodate people's habits, and I mean even most television news people use lavalier mics, and you'll see them even occasionally, you know, hit it. and they're the professionals.
Question
Yeah.
from
Gerald?
Just a couple of comments. If anybody has a Canon camera, there's a free application they have to convert your camera so you can use it as a webcam. I tried it a little bit on some of mine and it worked pretty nice. In fact, I kind of liked it because I could point the camera wherever I wanted to. The other thing is that, oh shoot, now it's going on my head. The other thing is that I have a studio monitor that it has the camera and the microphone in. I've been using them for about a year now, and I talk to my family every month. Haven't had any problem at all with that, so that might be something to think about. Just
Yeah,
offer-
both the studio monitor and the MacBook Pros and the new 24-inch iMac have really improved the quality of the cameras, and they actually have multiple microphones, so they do some noise canceling to help eliminate background noise.
The only thing I don't like, to be honest with you, is this Apple idea that they have to run everything. And that is when I turn that camera on, I can't tell where it's going to show me on the screen. Right now, I'm about 3 feet further away than I was before. But I'm still instead of just showing me as a smaller head, you get to see more body.
Yeah, well, you can check that out before you go on by using Photo Booth. So that's an app that comes with your Mac called Photo Booth.
Can we make adjustments on it that way, or this is that automatic thing that's supposed to keep you in the center of the screen or something?
No, that's called Center Stage, which tracks you if you move right and left.
Okay, thank
But
you.
Photo Booth will just let you check your framing. And of course, if you're on Zoom, you can see yourself. And if
Mhm.
you're on FaceTime, you can see yourself. So usually you have a way of seeing what your picture looks like.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
And I think Sony and maybe Nikon also have those similar apps to let your DSLR become a webcam.
Melissa's got her hand up.
Melissa.
Hello. So I wanted to show you something cool. We've used these things a lot. What this is, I've got this on Amazon, and it's you fold it and you put your laptop right there, and it's a base. So it can raise your camera up high, like you were talking about books or something. So you can use one of these gadgets and it's adjustable. And then it folds up and you can fit it in a book bag.
And I've got one of those and it works fine.
Yeah, it's like a little platform for your laptop. And it's got these 2 grooves in here, and it's got little feet on the bottom. So we use these a lot for our telehealth visits when we have to have like the whole family in front of the camera. And that works out really well because then we can put it further away. And if I need, a mouse or a keyboard, then I just use my wireless Bluetooth mouse and board. And I just put it at the bottom so that I don't have to otherwise you'd be typing like this and it would be wiggling. That's another thing that really irritates me when some people give presentations. They'll do it from their laptop and they might type, or they might be talking with their hands, or they might be like banging the table, and it shakes the webcam and it gets all wobbly. So it's good to have a camera that doesn't move. And I also wanted to say that I'm using I have Ventura now. I finally upgraded, and I'm using my iPhone as my webcam, and I like it a lot. Looks pretty
Looks
good.
good.
A little bit too much light. I've got like a halo, but that could be my natural halo. I don't know. It's hiding the horns is what it is.
Of course you
Special
have a
effect.
halo, Melissa.
What happens if you get a phone call while you're using your phone that way?
Well, that's why you put it in Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, too bad.
Ah, that's right. Okay.
Got to kick the kids out of the house and kick them off Minecraft, and nobody's allowed because it's T-Mug time.
You can see why you would really need a checklist.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a pre-flight, like you're getting ready to take off and you're in your cockpit. You've got to flip all the switches, right, Ridge?
Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you, Roger, for all of that preparation and putting the products in the show notes for us to reference later.
Yes.
And our last presentation this month is one of mine. And it's all about iCloud status icons. And let's see, there it is. That's the one I want. And you should be seeing my keynote
Yep.
presentation here about status, iCloud status icons. You
Yep,
probably have all seen the little icon next to the file with a little cloud on it. And I didn't realize there were so many different ones until just recently. So I took some time to go through Apple support papers and so forth and found that there's a bunch of them. And I want to show you what they mean because it's going to be helpful for you to know where your files are. First of all, here's one, and you see it's pretty jagged. That's because I've zoomed in on it so much, and I didn't have time to try to take that into a program to turn it into vector art. But this is the iCloud, the in iCloud status icon. It tells you that the file or folder you're looking at is only in iCloud. And if you want to work with it, you have to bring it down from iCloud to your Mac. If you control click on the file, then you can choose download now. Here's another one that I've never seen, and I'm glad I've never seen it. It's called ineligible. And what that means is that folder or file could not be stored in iCloud. And oftentimes that means that there's not enough room in iCloud. If you see this, buy the next level of storage in iCloud or go on a real witch hunt to try to free up some space.
There's a message for you.
Here's another one. It's the download icon. This is the one I see perhaps most of the time. And it means that the file or folder you're looking at is being synced to iCloud and it's all up to date. And you have the file you're working on now, looking at now, you can work on immediately because you don't need an internet connection when you're on that private jet going across country or perhaps over to Paris for dinner. Here's one I've never seen. This is waiting to upload. You can see that it's not yet stored in iCloud, possibly because you don't have an internet connection. It's not pushing it up right now. And here's one that says outer space status icon. And it means that there's not enough room in iCloud for this folder or file to be stored in iCloud. So again, if you see this, it's time to buy more storage. We've all seen an icon like this. It's the pie chart. The pie chart icon starts filling in darkness as the files are transferred. And this is also dealing with iCloud Drive, and it shows that you're throwing something up, transferring up and to and from iCloud. The Finder window can give you a status bar to let you know what you have available. The status bar can be at the top or the bottom of the Finder window. And if you don't see it, choose View, Show Status Bar. Here's a screenshot of looking into my iCloud, and it shows that in the folder called TMUG, this is all the stuff there. At the bottom, it's, first of all, we have these files that are up in the cloud, but not on my computer, such as the 2015-08 keynote presentation that I have stored up there. I don't really need it. I could probably get rid of it, and a bunch of other ones. And then down at the bottom, it shows that I'm looking at 68 items and I still have 40 gigabytes available out of the 50 that I'm paying for. So that's the quick answer to what do those little icons mean? Anybody have any questions on that? I guess not. So
Good to
Helpful,
know.
Bob. That was helpful, Bob. Thanks.
yeah, I didn't realize there were that many icons. And if you're going to go on a trip with your laptop and you need to work on that great American novel and it ain't on your computer, it's only in the iCloud, you might have a problem. So keep that in mind when you are dealing with your iCloud storage. iCloud storage is a really good thing, but you got to know what's up there and what's not up there and why.
Yep.
So in that case, I think we're done here. And I'm going to say, please drive safely on your way home tonight. And Bob Doms just put a reminder in the chat to the feedback form for April. So please go to the chat and click on that link and save that, or go then fill out the form and help us make things better.
There wasn't much in the chat, but don't forget to save it anyway.
Well, I'm saving it too.
Okay.
So if that is everything for this month, please be safe, be secure, keep your computer up to date, and we will see you again next month.
Okay.
Good night, all.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Bye, Louis.